Hello again everyone, James here, and today we're going to talk about DaBaby. Now it's hard for me to think of anyone knowing what YouTube is that wouldn't also know about DaBaby. He's been one of the most omnipresent artists of the last 2 years running, and his career actually dates back much further. But like many of the artists that rise to the top, it took a while for him to figure out how to get all the pieces of his career to align just right to get ahead. And like I said, this guy is pretty hard to miss. I mean, his song Rockstar was one of the most played songs in the world in 2020. And every single day he releases ends up at the top of Spotify's New Music Weekly. He is an unstoppable song-generating machine that is constantly in the press, constantly on the charts, and today I'm going to tell you a few things that you can learn from his success. Starting with what I've always believed is DaBaby's greatest strength. He has this knack for weaving his personal journey through his music. So every epic high and horrendous low that he experiences ultimately ends up in his songs, creating this sonic journey that listeners can pick up on at any point, go back as they like, and go into the future with as a fan. For instance, when DaBaby's brother died on Election Day 2020, DaBaby wrote a song about it and it was available on streaming services just a few weeks later. In fact, he put out a whole record all around that one topic. And when DaBaby first started to take off, those moments were also put into song. When he first got his big check, he put that into a song. And when you're listening to something that is touching on an experience that we can all relate to, whether it's chasing our dreams or experiencing the loss of somebody that we love, there's a connection that is forged between the listener and the artist who is conveying those emotions that we all recognize that is really hard to break. There's a bond formed there. So whether you're a passive listener of DaBaby or somebody who's devoted to his music, when you hear somebody telling a personal story the way that he does, you cannot help but relate to them and in some ways root for them. You want them to overcome the loss of their brother. You want them to get that big check that they've been chasing. You want to see them to succeed because if they can do it, it means you can as well. And that's the key to building a real community around your music. And speaking about winning over fans and building a community, another thing that DaBaby does really well is that he wastes no time grabbing your attention. You see, he understands that we live in a very saturated era for entertainment. The demand for consumers' attention is at an all-time high, both in music and in entertainment in general. So you can't be wasting time. Because if people don't connect with your song in the first few seconds, they're never going to. They're going to move on to the next thing. And the way that DaBaby overcomes this is by rapping as quickly as possible. And I don't necessarily just mean the speed of his raps, but how early in the song the verses or the hooks start. Most songs, he's rapping or at least speaking into the microphone in the first 5 seconds of the track. He's trying to engage you right away. And yes, there are a lot of really interesting production elements at play, and there's always a bigger message that he's trying to get across. But he understands that if he does not first grab your attention, the rest of it doesn't really matter. You're not going to get that far. He treats every single song he releases as if it's the first song somebody will ever hear from DaBaby, and he makes it a point to always be trying to get their attention as quickly as possible. And that's something you should be doing as a songwriter as well. Now, if you know me and you watch these videos, you know that I am often hesitant to tell people to focus on quantity over quality. I believe that you should always give your fans the best possible product. However, DaBaby has found a way to make high-quality content at a rapid rate. I mean, he put out 3 albums in the last year alone, and he's likely to do it again in 2021. He has no shortage of stories to tell, and while some people could argue that there's a lot of similar themes across his releases, he's always progressing. He's always finding a way to push the envelope, whether that be through the production that backs his raps, or through the story that he's telling and how what happened to be a person chasing the dream of becoming a famous rapper is now a famous rapper trying to figure out how to maintain his career while raising his profile and raising a daughter and overcoming all the controversies that come with being in the spotlight. His story is always moving forward, and his fans are constantly being fed new and interesting content. And while they might not like all of it, and some of the stuff is relatively forgettable, you always know that there is another release right around the corner. I mean, most recently, he put out an EP near the end of November, just a few weeks after losing his brother, and here in January 2021, he just put out another single, which, of course, to no surprise of anybody, was was right at the top of Spotify's New Music Friday. The man is unstoppable. And the lesson here is that you shouldn't be afraid to constantly engage your audience. I know that you want everything to be the absolute perfect song or perfect record or perfect video, but there's an argument to be made for just sharing the process with them, for getting everything out that you want to get off your chest and then giving it to your audience to devour. And if they don't like it, well, luckily there'll be something else in the very near future. So if you have the means to record regularly, or you have the means to make a lot of content, whether it be podcasts or video content, do it and just keep giving your audience stuff. While other artists are struggling to keep their fans engaged while touring is impossible, DaBaby's just pumping out music. He's just giving his fans something to keep them listening to DaBaby, keep them thinking about DaBaby, keep them talking about DaBaby. And finally, in an attempt to bring these lessons full circle, I believe that it's really important for you to tell your story before anybody else does. And by that I mean, DaBaby's somebody that's in the spotlight. And if you follow pop culture news at all, you'll know that he's had some less than ideal situations play out in the public forum. And while tabloids are always going to talk, and critics are always going to talk, and people are always going to make assumptions about your career, DaBaby lets his fans into his personal life. He'll go live on Instagram with his daughter and just showcase the two of them hanging out, playing, working on projects, whatever it happens to be. He'll also go live and just answer questions from his fans, or he'll reply to DMs or to tweets. He puts himself out there and shares his story in his own words, so that if anybody ever doubts his character, or doubts why he does something, or wants to know what the true story is behind that thing that TMZ or somebody else is talking about, they can go straight to DaBaby and he will tell them. He doesn't hide anything or any aspect of who he is with the world, and because of that, he gets a lot of leniency from his fans because they know who he is. And if people want to criticize him, that's fine, but he is nonetheless who he is at all times. And there's something very respectable and very alluring about that, especially from public figures. You want to see people who are fully themselves because it makes it more okay for us to be fully ourselves. And DaBaby has figured that out, and you can too. Just be yourself. It's as simple and as incredibly difficult as it sounds. And if you want even more great content like this and a million other topics, please subscribe to the Music Biz channel. We are here to help you succeed. And if you click the subscribe button, you'll be joining a community of musicians and music professionals, all of whom are interested in the latest breaking news, emerging trends, and tips and tricks for succeeding in this crazy business of entertainment. I'll be here with you every step of the way. I'm happy to answer any questions, make videos about topics that interest you. I'm here to help you, and together we will all get ahead. So please click that button. And if you have already done so, thank you so much for watching. It's so great to be with you again, and I'll have more content for you soon. But until next time, take care of yourself because you deserve it.